Yo, what up? It's your boy Tom, and it's Wednesday, my dudes. You know what that means. It's time for... What is it time for? What is it? What is it time for? Oh yeah, thanks, Imduk. Yeah, it's time to duel. And it's also time for another deck profile / replay. But before we get into it, go ahead and leave a like if you agree that Pendulum best deck, baby. Let's go. And also comment in the comment section below why you think that Endymion, the Mighty Master of Magic, is the best card ever printed in not even in just Yu-Gi-Oh, just in every card game ever. It's the best Magic card too, honestly. Now let's go ahead and get into it. So, we will be looking at Endymion, and this is specifically Mythical Endymion. Alright, so I'll be going first here. I get the Servant Scale, fantastic. Citadel, also fantastic. Into the Void, gotta draw cards. And Magician Souls, poggers. Alright, Scaling Cerberus, that will be my third spell counter. I can now use Servant to summon from deck. We'll go Jackal King in case they have Nibiru. Fairly standard starter play for Endymion here. I can now Mythical Cerberus, now that the scale is clear, for Jackal King. Get more spell counters. Jackal King into the Mythical Beastmaster Cerberus. Cool. It's another good link material. Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. That'll get me into secrets here. Secrets. Wonder what I would search off of that. Maybe knowledge? Cool. Alright. Since I love drawing cards so much, I will draw 2 more cards here. Now I can activate Restage, and I can summon back the Blue Boy. Awesome. Fantastic start to the turn here. Oh, Nibiru. Too bad I have a negate for that. Get owned. Oh, shit. Imperm. Nibiru Imperm must be nice. Sometimes they have it, you know? Sometimes they have Nibiru Imperm. Cool. Well, I can say goodbye to my field and say hello to a giant token. Thank you. Alright. I'll send Reflection off of the souls here. And send Restage to draw 1 card, get an Astrograph Sorcerer. I actually ended up cutting that from the deck. It's just not great in Endymion, in my humble opinion. Now, speaking of Endymion, I will be summoning him from the scale. And since it is mandatory to pop a card, I'll just go ahead and get rid of that Nibiru. So this is technically 2 negates, right hand plus Endymion. Let's just hope that my opponent is playing spells. And they are. That is a Rhoda. My first thought is Sky Striker. Right hand will negate that. Oh, no, turns out it's Hero. Okay, they discard Ferris, equip Increase. Okay. So Increase actually is considered a continuous trap right now, so Endymion can negate this. Hilarious. So now they're down to 1 card in hand after my 2 negates. And it's big. It is Fusion Destiny. Cool. Must be nice. Nibiru, Imperm, Ferris, Rhoda, Fusion Destiny. Cool. Alright. So they attack over Endymion, but that lets me search any spell in the game. I'll grab Instant Fusion. You'll find out why in a second. And then they destroy Phoenix Enforcer to get rid of my gigantic token. Cool. Passing back to my turn here in my standby phase. They will get the Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer back. Unfortunate for them. I have Instant Fusion. Paying 1,000 life points here, I can summon the one and the only Millennium Eyes Restrict. So, this will be able to negate DPE's effect and equip it, meaning that it's effectively just dead. So now I will Spell Power Mastery for a Servant, and that will get my 3rd spell counter on Citadel there. Servant can summon anything from deck. Let's go for Cerberus. All I need to do is get 4 spell counters. I already have 2, so I'll send these 2 spells to the grave off of Souls to draw 2. I'll get an Institution, and that'll be my 4th spell counter. Cool. So I can use 4 spell counters to force out the DPE here, try to banish it. They will chain, understandably, but then I can Millennium Eyes Restrict and end up just equipping it instead, which also negates its effects. Cool. Now, Millennium Eyes Restrict cannot attack, so I will need to find a way to get lethal here. I can just go straight into a Link 3 here. Selene, the Queen of Master Magicians, Yas, Queen. Alright, so I get 12 spell counters, pretty generous, so I can go ahead and remove 6 of them to get a Jackal King back, because I have not resolved Jackal King's scale effect this turn. My scales are empty, so I can go ahead and pop the Jackal King here. Bring out the Master Cerberus, that's 2,800, okay. Let's see how far we can go here. Selene will remove 3 more spell counters, and I can get a Magician's Souls. 3 plus 1, what is that? Link 4? Yes, access code talker, cool. So since I used a Link 3, it will gain 3,000 attack points. 53 plus 28 is 8,100. And that is 100 over lethal. Cool. Nice. Alright, let's take a look at the deck profile. So, here's the list. This is Mythical Endymion, so it is a little difficult keeping it under 40 cards, I will not lie to you. But the Mythical Endymion package is epic. That's all I can say about it. You know, you can shave it down to where you're just playing essentially Endymion plus Cerberus and Jackal, just because, you know, Cerberus does turn itself into an extender when used, specifically in that capacity, and you're going to be playing the Jackals anyway, just because it's a monster negate. A lot of people go a lot deeper. I disagree with that. For those of you that play Garuda, while Garuda is a good card, and it has, you know, the spell trap pop, I mean, that comes up sometimes, cool. And Garuda also has that nice bounce effect, but you can get the same thing off of Reflection, basically, going into Selene. So I think that's just another unnecessary one of, and then also there's Medusa. Medusa's kind of just dumb and crappy. So here's the mythical beasts that we are playing. 1, Jackal, not Jackal King, regular Jackal. So this monster effect is actually basically the same thing as Servant's scale effect. It is fantastic. And also its scale effect lets you just get more spell counters, and a lot of times you need more spell counters. Playing 1 Basilisk. Basilisk lets you draw by shuffling mythical beasts from your extra deck back into your deck. And then also it has a monster effect that comes up less often because you're not summoning this a whole lot, but it can get mythical beasts back to your hand. So it's pretty nice. You can just use this whenever, say, you draw Cerberus plus Jackal. You can go into this instead of going into the Jackal, since you already have a Jackal in hand anyway, and then you can Jackal summon the Cerberus, and then you can use the Basilisk to summon, or to shuffle one of them back, draw a card. Pretty nice. Playing the 2 Jackal, pretty standard. 2 Cerberus, pretty standard. 3's a little bricky, but, you know, whatever. 3 Mythical Institution. I hate drawing multiples of this. Not as much as I hate drawing multiples of Cerberus, but this card, I want to play it at 3 because, you know, you want to see this card. You want to be searching those Mythical Beasts cards. And sometimes, even if you do draw 2, you can resolve both of them. It's not a hard once per turn, so you can get some cool searches off of it, but a lot of times you will find yourself wishing that this card was something else. If it was searchable, I would be playing 1 of it, but as far as I know, this is not easily searchable. So for now, we're playing 3 of it. It's still a pretty good card nonetheless, but it is a bit bricky. This is probably like the worst part of going deep in on the Mythical Beast engine. It is just that a lot of times you would wish that this was like a draw card or something, because it can actually, funny enough, it can search your Endymion monsters too, provided that you have a spell counter for it. So if you needed to go into a Servant, you could remove 3 spell counters, but if you're removing 3 spell counters to get to a Servant, sometimes it's hard to get the spell counters to then use that Servant. So it's not the best card, but, you know, it's fine. It's fine. 3 Magician Souls, fantastic. 1 Blue Boy, going really, really light on the Prophecy engine here. Just 1 of each instead of doing like a 2-2-1 or whatever. Just 1 Blue Boy, 1 Secrets, 1 Knowledge. Cool. 1 Magister, it's a good high scale. decent scale effect, and also its monster effect is Celine's, not Celine, it is Servant's scale effect. Except it can only be activated on your opponent's turn. That is very useful whenever you get max seed. You can just normal summon this, get some spell counters, and then on your opponent's turn summon either a Jackal King or an Endymion, whichever you like. Servant, it's fantastic, mandatory 3 of. 1 Kaiden Kendo Spirit. This is a fantastic high scale, scale 9, and also it bounces itself whenever you Pendulum summon, so you can use this to get more spell counters. Hilarious. You can also use it to clear your other scale if your low scale is a mythical beast, and then after you Pendulum summon, use that mythical beast's effect. Hilarious, right? 3 Endymion, Mighty Master of Magic. Best card in the deck. It's fantastic. Also makes this deck somewhat viable going second, too. A lot of people think of this as the, going first combo deck, 87 negates through 3 million hand traps, whatever. The type of deck that typically doesn't have a very good going second game, but this actually does have a decent going second game because mostly Endymion. 1 reflection. You don't really want to draw this. It's an okay low scale. You could Pendulum summon it, I suppose, but mostly this is what you're sending off of Magician's Souls. 2 Cerberus, as I said earlier. Not only is it a nice extender just to get link material, but also going into the rest of your mythical beast cards, it can be used for card advantage, and also its monster effect is pretty good as well. 4 spell counters, banish one of your opponent's monsters, it gains that attack. Cool. Terraforming, fantastic. 1 instant fusion, this is for the Millennium Eyes, you saw that in the replay, it's great. 3 Into the Void, you just need spell counters, man, so you gotta play draw cards. Speaking of which, 3 Pot of Desires, as long as you don't banish, like, all of your Jackal Kings and Endymions, you should be fine off of this. Sometimes it does kind of suck to, like, banish a right hand or whatever, but it's a good card. It's Pot of Greed. 3 Spell Power Mastery. It's fantastic. One of the best cards in the deck. This is just I cannot put into words how good this card is. 1 Citadel. So Citadel's kind of funny. It's a nice one of. It is searchable off of Terraforming. It is also searchable off of Spell Power Mastery. So you can use this to activate it over a chicken game to get rid of it. You can use this just to hold spell counters. It resists getting destroyed. It has the replacement effect, meaning that if you get 3 spell counters on it, you can use it to use Servant or Magister's effect, since they specify it has to be from its own card instead of just from your field. Citadel can substitute that. It's pretty good. Normally you won't be searching this off of Spell Power Mastery unless you already have Servant in hand, but in the cases where you draw 1 Servant and a Spell Power Mastery, this is usually the next best card to go for. Chicken game. Yes, this card is legal in Master Duel, and it is hilarious. So a lot of people will forget this is on the field and try to attack and not do any damage. There have been plenty of memes about that, but this is just a fantastic draw card, and it's super easy to get rid of. After you use its draw effect, you can use Magician's Souls to get rid of it, to draw another card. Or you can pop it off of Endymion's scale effect. And also, sometimes if you can't get rid of it, our next card here, Magician's Right Hand, if you have Chicken Game on the field and your opponent tries to use its effect, they will pay 1,000 life points, and Right Hand will negate it and destroy it. Hilarious. Anyway, Right Hand is a fantastic card. It does not activate. It just negates the first spell card that resolves. Which means that if you use, say, like Endymion to negate a spell card, Right Hand will not trigger. It'll only trigger whenever there's a spell card that is not negated that resolves. It negates it at resolution, which is kind of funny. It can negate Dark Ruler no more, Forbidden Droplet, stuff like that. So it's really good insurance policy, and also it's super accessible because of Magician's Restage. It's a very nice extender. It's a continuous spell. So you can, after you're done using it, you can send it off of Souls to draw a card, or you can pop it off of Endymion, and then it gets you into your right hand. A lot of times you just use this to get right hand. You don't even use the effect, because the only thing you're going to be summoning with it is Magician Souls, Blue Boy, or Millennium Eyes Restrict. Sometimes you have hands that don't really go into those cards, unfortunately. When you do, it is a fantastic extender. You get so much link material. It's great. But even without using its Reborn effect, just it gets right hand. Cool. And then the 3 Mythical Institution, I already talked about that. In the extra deck, Millennium Eyes Restrict. This card is fantastic. You go into it off of Instant Fusion, and although Instant Fusion does destroy the monster at the end phase, most of the time you're linking this away for something like a Crowley or a Selene, and then you bring it back off of, say, a Restage or a Selene. It's great, and in which case Instant Fusion will not destroy it. Vortex. It is the Pendulum Omni Negate. That's all I'm going to say about that. Super easy to go into. Fantastic card. Supreme King, Dragon, Starving Venom. This does not come up as often as it does in other Pendulum builds. You know, in Magician, you know, even like non-FTK variants, and just like Magician or Metal Foes, you can play this, or not Metal Foes, mostly just Magicians, Pepe, stuff like that. You can use this. It's like a second copy of all the other cards in your extra deck. It does not come up as often in this because mostly everything that you're going into sans Selene, you really only need to go into once, but you know, just in case. Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon. It's a rank 7. You use it to make Vortex. That's about it. Crowley. I really wish this card was not random. It is. So you have a 1/3 chance of getting either Blue Boy, Secrets, or Knowledge. If you get Knowledge, you're kind of fucked, because the only way to resolve it in most hands is to send Crowley, and that's not ideal. But you have a 2/3 chance to get Secrets or Prophecy, which are the ones you want to go for, and then, you know, just a 1/3 chance to get the Knowledge. So most of the time it works out favorably, but you know, whatever. It's easy to go into, and it's usually just free advantage. Cool. Electromite. Again, this is fantastic in Metal Foes and in Magicians. It doesn't come up nearly as often here. I mean, it is. It would be a lot better in the TCG, I'll say that much. But this card is, it's all right. Normally, you just use this whenever your opponent's playing like 87 hand traps, and whatever board you were trying to make has just been like destroyed. So you're just trying to loop a resource back just to get something on field. Or if you've clogged scales because you needed more spell counters and you need to get rid of that. But whenever you're just doing your normal setup, you normally don't go into this card. Breaker. This is fantastic going second. It just puts another layer of added pressure on your opponent, since Endymion builds its board kind of piece by piece, and the only like semi big choke point of the deck is Servant, usually. It's like if you have a hand with just Servant and then 4 cards that don't do anything, it's like if you have a weak hand like that, Servant's a choke point. But in most hands, you can play through your Servant getting interrupted. You can play through actually a lot of interaction just because of how these cards work. Breaker or Daybreaker just makes this deck work even better going second. It's just another card that they have to negate, or else they'll get a card popped. And it's also just a fantastic link too. It's got nice arrows. You can Pendulum summon to it. Whatever you want to do. Masquerena. It's a good card. This is normally the cherry on top of whenever you're building a big board. Just because normally you're running out of room in your monster zones, and you've already got multiple negates on field. You just get this to either go into an Appaloosa or to go into Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, which is hilarious. Cross Sheep. This is just part of the combo with Absolute Dragon. You overlay a Mighty Master and a reflection of Endymion that you've reborned off of a Selene after sending off of a Magician Souls. So Magician Souls, send Selene, summon, get an Endymion into rotation, overlay for Absolute Dragon, link the Selene and the Absolute Dragon into Cross Sheep, Absolute Dragon effect, summon Vortex, 2 Cross Sheep's link point, summon back just anything that you can summon off the Cross Sheep. Usually it's a Magician Souls, go into a second Selene, and yeah, at that point you're just Gucci. Speaking of which, 3 Selene, honestly that's probably just mandatory. Appaloosa, you normally only go off of this, go into this off of IP Masquerena. Access Code Talker, this card is just too good. This just gets lethal so quickly. So 99.999999% of the time, you summon this using a Selene, so it has an extra 3,000 attack points, and because of that, it will be 5,300 attack points. Meaning, if your opponent is still at 8,000 life points, they haven't taken any damage whatsoever. You just need 2,700 plus the Access Code Talker to go to lethal. 2,800 right there, 25, 28, this is a 28, this is a 24, close enough, 24. So basically any of your big monsters or just 2 of your smaller monsters plus an Access Code Talker, that's instant lethal, plus all of the pops that you get along the way. For example, Endymion, that can clear a whole board. This card is just fantastic, and it's super accessible in this deck. Last card in the extra deck, Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. Hilarious. You can make this off of IP Masquerena, link away one of your opponent's monsters on their turn. So some of your bigger end boards are going to look like IP Masquerena plus a Selene. There's a Reflection in the graveyard, you've got a Jackal on field, you've got a Mighty Master on field, you have a Vortex Dragon on field, you may or may not have a Millennium Eyes Restrict, and then IP Masquerena can link away one of your opponent's card into Underworld Goddess or into Appaloosa. That's another negate right there. It's fantastic. So yeah, that's the deck. Go ahead and subscribe for future content. Leave a like if you like the deck profile. If you agree that Pendulum best deck, baby, let's go. And I'll see you next week.